We've decided to take over the management of the house moving forward. It's best if you start looking for another place to live. My brother, his wife, and my mother are in agreement about this decision." The words echoed in my mind, each syllable striking like a hammer against my chest. It took a moment for the weight of them to fully settle. They wanted me out. They had already made their decision, one that didn't seem to take my role in this house into account. Although I had been the one covering the living expenses all along, it seemed they didn't recognize or appreciate the role I had played. I had made sacrifices, poured my time and energy into sustaining this household. Yet now, they dismissed me as though I had been merely occupying space. Their blatant disregard was more than just hurtful, it was baffling. In my head, a plan began to form. If they truly believed I had no place here, I would make sure they understood exactly what I had been doing for this family. My name is Isa. I'm a 30-year-old woman who, until now, had been living with my parents. After college, I stepped out into the world, eager to make my way, only to be met with setbacks. The job market was brutal, and despite my best efforts, finding stable employment proved to be a challenge. I survived on unemployment benefits while tirelessly searching for work, hoping for an opportunity that never seemed to come. Then, I discovered remote work. My background in science allowed me to transition into freelance engineering, taking on small projects and gradually building a name for myself. At first, the income was modest, but over time, my reputation grew, and with it, my earnings. The flexibility of working from home suited me. It gave me a sense of control and allowed me to focus without the distractions of a traditional workplace. As the months passed, I found myself earning as much as a salaried employee. But my mother never understood. Despite my explanations, my emails from clients, my bank statements, she remained skeptical. She was from an older generation, one that equated work with physically leaving the house. To her, the idea of sitting in front of a laptop all day and earning money from it was incomprehensible. "How long will you stay home?" she would ask, her tone laced with disappointment. "I thought it was for your mental health, but it's been over 2 years. Shouldn't you try working outside more?" No matter how many times I reassured her, no matter how much evidence I presented, she refused to accept it. "You're just doing something online," she would say dismissively. "How do I know it's not some shady business, or a strange cult?" I had no words. How could I make her understand? No matter what I did, her perception remained unchanged. I had considered moving out. I wanted my own space, my independence, but my savings weren't quite where I wanted them to be. And then, things took an unexpected turn. My father fell ill. His health deteriorated rapidly, forcing him into early retirement and cutting off his primary source of income. When I asked if he was managing, he had simply smiled and said, "I have my pension, Isa, I'll make it work." But I knew better. My mother's spending habits were hardly frugal, and my father, though trying to be strong, was undoubtedly struggling. So, I made a decision. "Don't worry, Dad, I'll take care of things from now on." He was hesitant at first, uncertain of my financial stability, but when I showed him my bank account, his doubts faded. "Isa, I didn't know you were doing this well," he admitted. "Can you help us out a little?" "Of course," I said without hesitation. "You've done so much for me. It's my turn to support you." From then on, I took charge of the household expenses. I paid the bills, covered my father's medical costs, and ensured that there was always food on the table. I even set up a new credit card for my mother, giving her access to the funds she needed while trying to encourage her to spend wisely. My father understood and appreciated my efforts, but my mother remained indifferent. As time passed, her attitude towards me became even stricter. She started demanding more of me, treating my contributions as though they were obligations rather than acts of goodwill. "Can't you finish your chores faster?" "I'm working, Mom. I have deadlines." "You keep saying that, but is it really that difficult?" No matter how much I did, it was never enough. Then, my father's condition worsened, and he was hospitalized. I visited him every day, offering whatever comfort I could, but with him gone, my mother's resentment towards me grew stronger. The house felt suffocating. Yet I remained, because I wanted to help, to be there for both of them. Then, out of nowhere, my brother Max and his wife Laura arrived, unannounced. "We're going to live here now," Max declared. I blinked in shock. "What? Why?" "Mom was worried about you being here alone while Dad's in the hospital. We're here to help." But I could see through their words. My mother averted her gaze, while Laura wore a smug expression. Something wasn't right. You'll have to contribute more now, my mother said pointedly, otherwise, staying here might be difficult. I bit my lip, the betrayal cutting deep. I had already been the one keeping this house afloat, and now, they were acting as though I was a burden. Living with them was a nightmare. Why aren't you up yet? Wake up and make breakfast. Laura banged on my door early one morning. I'm working, I responded, already focused on my tasks. Really? Then hurry up and get breakfast ready. Our family had never followed strict meal schedules, everyone ate as they pleased, but now, suddenly, I was expected to cook for everyone. Reluctantly, I helped prepare breakfast: scrambled eggs, salad, buttered toast, and sausages, plenty for a meal, but it wasn't enough. Is this all? This isn't enough. If you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. Lara's eyes flashed with indignation. What's with that attitude? You should be helping more. I do help, I shot back, but I have work, too. Work? Really? What kind of work is that? Are you crazy? I had had enough. I grabbed my laptop and walked out, ignoring my brother's calls after me. I found myself at my father's hospital room, seeking solace in the only person who had ever truly understood me. What's wrong? You look upset. I explained everything. He listened quietly, then sighed. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. It's not your fault, but I don't know what to do. He placed a weak hand over mine. You don't have to stay where you're not wanted. You deserve happiness, too. Live your life the way you want to. Tears welled in my eyes. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen. Thank you, Dad. His words were all the encouragement I needed. A new chapter was about to begin, and this time, I would write it on my own terms. The decision to leave home was not an easy one, but it felt inevitable. I needed to escape the suffocating atmosphere, even if only temporarily. When I returned in the evening, I was met with an unsettling scene. My mother, my brother, and his wife were all seated in the living room, their faces drawn with seriousness. The air was thick with tension, and I could sense that something was about to unfold. Where were you all day, brother? My brother demanded, his tone accusatory. Weren't you supposed to be at work? His wife chimed in. I had to take the day off because of you, my brother exclaimed, clearly agitated. I frowned, surprised by how easily he had taken a day off. Wasn't that reckless and irresponsible? Did he not consider the implications of his actions? I had worked tirelessly to contribute to the household, yet my presence seemed to be nothing but an inconvenience to them. The conversation quickly escalated, their voices growing louder and more heated. My brother's patience snapped, and with a stern expression, he declared, "Get out of here." I stared at him in disbelief. Why? What did I do? From now on, the three of us will live together. If you don't like it, you're free to leave. We don't need you here, always acting like you're the backbone of this house. We'll be fine without you. Their intent was clear, they were pushing me out. My mother, whom I had always tried to support, stood silently beside them, her expression unreadable, but then, as if confirming her stance, she spoke in agreement. That's enough, you don't need to be here anymore. Your father is gone, and you're no longer necessary. Her words cut deeper than I had expected. Had she ever truly acknowledged all the financial contributions I made to sustain this household? Even as she indulged in extravagant purchases of branded goods each month, did she never stop to think about where the money came from? How did she intend to continue this lifestyle without my support? Anger bubbled inside me. No matter how much I tried to explain my importance in keeping the household afloat, my words were ignored. I was nothing but a burden in their eyes. If that was how they wanted it, fine. I decided I would show them the reality of their actions. That evening, I put my plan into motion. I transferred the money from the bank account linked to my mother's credit card to a private account under my control. Let her realize what it meant to be truly cut off. Then, I moved funds from my late father's account, the same funds that had been unknowingly supporting this household all along. Only the money designated for his medical expenses remained untouched. With these changes, the financial burden would now fall squarely on my brother and his wife. I wasn't sure how much my brother was earning, but I had no doubt he would feel the pressure soon enough. Once the preparations were complete, I packed my belongings and turned to face them. I'm leaving this place. Shock flickered across their faces. Despite their hostility, they had not expected me to act so swiftly. Finally, my brother's wife scoffed. I've never met someone so insufferable. Make sure you don't come back. I met her gaze, unfazed. Don't worry, I have no intention of returning, and one more thing, don't contact me. Their smug expressions did not faze me. Let them enjoy their imagined victory. The true consequences of their actions were yet to come. As I walked away from that house, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. My new home was a sanctuary, offering me the peace and independence I had longed for. I could finally focus on my work without distractions or the weight of ungrateful family members pulling me down. Then, just as I had anticipated, the phone rang one day. My brother's name flashed across the screen. I answered with detached curiosity. I told you not to contact me. What do you want? His voice was filled with urgency and unease. ISA, why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? About everything. We had no idea. I smirked, though he couldn't see it. I told you multiple times that I was the one working to support the household. You and Mom just chose not to believe me. That's... Well, Mom said a lot of things, and I was confused. That's not my problem, is it? No, but we're in trouble. Mom's been spending a lot, and now we can't even pay the utilities. Interesting. I wonder how you managed before. Oh, wait, that's right. I was the one paying for everything. ISA, please, we need help. Transfer some money to my account. I let out a dry laugh. Are you serious? You work for a major company, don't you? Isn't that enough? There was a pause. Then he admitted, I lost my job. That caught me off guard. What? How? Things didn't work out. I thought we could manage with what we had, but... I sighed, now understanding his predicament. My brother had returned to our parents' house, assuming he could coast by on the financial stability our father's pension and my earnings provided. He had never truly grasped the extent of my contributions, and now reality was setting in. His wife's voice came through the phone, pleading, ISA, we need your help. Our savings are running out. Then my mother spoke, her tone panicked. Your father won't help us anymore. He's furious about everything. We're really struggling. I've done more than enough for you all, I said, unwavering. You're all healthy, aren't you? Work hard and support yourselves. Good luck. A desperate voice reached my ears. ISA, wait. I hung up. That chapter of my life was over. As for my father, he had finally taken steps to distance himself from my mother. He sought legal advice and moved to a separate place, where I could visit him freely. Seeing him regain his peace and happiness was a source of comfort for me. Meanwhile, I heard through mutual friends that my brother had moved into a small apartment, living frugally. My mother, unaccustomed to financial struggle, was forced to take up work but found it difficult. My brother, once so full of confidence, struggled to maintain a steady job, often clashing with younger colleagues. His wife, who had become the sole provider, eventually left, unable to bear the burden any longer. Now, my brother and mother were left to fend for themselves, their debts mounting as my mother's spending habits refused to change. I worried about them at times, but I knew I could no longer intervene. As for me, I had found a newfound sense of fulfillment. My income was steadily increasing, and I was looking toward new opportunities. Most importantly, I could visit my father daily, ensuring he was happy and well. His smile, free from the burdens of the past, was worth more than anything I had left behind.